Police are treating an incident outside Parliament this morning as a terror attack. A man has been arrested after a car hit pedestrians and then crashed into a barrier. For the latest on this, we're live in London. Our UK correspondent, Olly Barratt, is following the story. Olly, tell us more about what happened and about the suspect.
British police is a 29-year-old British national. No detail further than that being given by British police at this stage. We did hear earlier from one UK cabinet minister suggesting that there is a belief that this man may be a British citizen who was originally from another country. Again, no confirmation of that from police at this stage. Police have told us that they are searching several addresses in the Birmingham and Nottingham cities, which are in the Midlands region of England. Those searches continue. Clearly, they also have a crime scene at the Houses of Parliament to investigate as well, where that Ford Fiesta was driven into the barrier outside the seat of British democracy. So they will be hoping for a lot of clues to be gleaned from that vehicle and their searches there as well. Of course, they also have a suspect to talk to, a 29-year-old man in custody. But earlier, police were telling us that this man was not cooperating with their investigation, not talking to them. So clearly they will be trying to break that deadlock as well, to try and work out, they say, as their priority, the motivation for what happened in Westminster earlier.
Yeah, I mean, it obviously was deliberate and petrifying. Now, the Mayor of London is asking residents to be vigilant after the attack in Westminster. As you said, a man in his late 20s swerved into pedestrians and cyclists outside the Houses of Parliament.
We've seen across the world major cities facing acts of terrorism from terrorists who want to divide our communities, cause injury and cause death. And as a city, we continue to evolve our response to terror attacks, but also to evolve to keep us safe, to deter and prevent attacks taking place in the first place. I'm reassured that our police service, that our security services, that our emergency services, that all of us are doing what we can to keep our city safe.
Obviously petrifying. I mean, what sort of message do you think the public is looking to the government for here now?
Well, it's interesting. You mentioned that call for vigilance from Sadiq Khan, who we've just heard from. Theresa May, the British Prime Minister, echoed that as well, saying that she wanted the public to be vigilant. We've heard that exact word from British police as well today. But Theresa May also saying that she wants people to feel that they can carry on as normal. And that tends to be how Brits react to terrorist attacks, partly, of course, because we have seen a number of them in this country over many years. We saw a series of them in 2017, particularly here in London. Londoners are well aware that they are a target. Anyone who works in Westminster is well aware that the home of British democracy is a prime target for terrorism. So people will continue to go about their daily lives, but they'll also want to hear some kind of reassurance from authorities that police are on top of this issue, that they are getting on top of this issue. We heard from Theresa May, the British Prime Minister, today that there have been an increasing amount of plots foiled in recent months. That is clearly a success for security services, but we've also heard from her that there are an increasing amount of plots simply being investigated at the moment. So the threat is still very high indeed. And one thing I think British people have learned to live with is that the security agencies and security apparatus here simply cannot be on top of every potential individual who might be radicalized in some way and might be at some point in the future minded to commit some type of crime. Going back to this particular incident, of course, we're still having it down from the police as a suspected terrorist incident, especially until they learn more about the suspect that was arrested inside the vehicle.
Donald Trump has tweeted about it. He has tweeted in the past when he attacked Sadiq Khan, the London mayor. What did he have to add this time?
Yeah, he's attacked Sadiq Khan before. Those two have fallen out before. During a couple of those terrorist attacks I was mentioning back in 2017, Donald Trump took to Twitter to say something about them, to put some information about those attacks into the public domain via social media before the police or the intelligence agencies here in the UK had sanctioned the release of that information. Today we saw him tweeting very early on in this investigation, when police were not saying very much at all about it, that there had been another terrorist attack in London. These animals are crazy and must be dealt with through toughness and strength. Exclamation mark. Now, that will not have pleased privately British authorities, British cabinet ministers and the police here. They don't like this kind of story being dealt with through social media before the police have even garnered much information on it. So it may be that at some point in the future, Theresa May, the British Prime Minister, has a quiet word in the ear of Donald Trump about this. It may, of course, lead to another social media spat between Donald Trump and the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan. It certainly won't have pleased authorities here that Donald Trump went so quickly to Twitter.
And I know Theresa May disappointed a lot of people when she withdrew a lot of funds from the security services. I'm just wondering how this is playing out now. I know that the investigation continues. What sort of impact has it had on locals in the sense of their transport and getting to work, and how it's going to impact their everyday life now?
It did for a couple of hours have a pretty significant impact on London. Lots of the roads around Parliament Square, opposite the Houses of Parliament, where that statue of Nelson Mandela is, lots of those roads were closed down. It caused traffic gridlock there. Most of that's been reopened now, so traffic is flowing as it would normally. Westminster Tube Underground Station was shut for a while as well. That's now reopened. So that kind of impact has now eased. In terms of that debate about security and policing and money spent on it, that is a very live debate indeed. Theresa May often facing a huge amount of criticism for cuts that she has overseen as Prime Minister, but also as Home Secretary before that, cuts to policing budgets up and down the country. Now, she insists that despite some of those cuts that have been seen, money for counter-terrorism, money for armed police has actually been increasing. But it's a very live debate, as I say, and certainly that is a question that will be raised in the coming days about whether these security forces here, whether the police, whether counter-terror officers and the structure in the Metropolitan Police particularly have enough money to keep Britain as safe as possible.
Thanks for wrapping that up for us, Olly Barratt. Time now for a look at some of the other stories making news around the globe. Italian authorities expect the death toll to rise in the Genoa bridge collapse. An 80-metre section of the bridge crashed in torrential rain onto a roof of a factory and other buildings. At least 22 people have died, but rescue workers are still combing through the debris. European Union observers say there were irregularities in Mali's presidential runoff, but they don't suspect any fraud. The opposition is accusing President Ibrahim Boubacar Keita's camp of cheating. Results from Sunday's second round between Keita and opposition leader Ismaila Kisse have not yet been released. Voter turnout was very low, largely due to security fears. And the world's most senior Catholic cleric to be convicted of concealing child sex abuse has been spared jail. Instead, former Australian Archbishop Philip Wilson will serve his sentence at home. Wilson concealed abuse by a notorious paedophile priest in the 1970s. The 67-year-old starts his sentence today. It's been a very sad day for the music industry the world over. American singer and songwriter Aretha Franklin is reportedly seriously ill. Tanya Nefter caught up with some local musicians and industry players who paid tribute to the musical legend.
She's dubbed the Queen of Soul, and rightfully so. With a rich and successful musical career spanning 6 decades and a whopping 18 Grammys under her belt, Aretha Franklin is nothing short of a musical maestro. With hits like these still inspiring musicians, in fact everyone the world over.
You've had the incredible pleasure of meeting this iconic woman. What was it like seeing her perform live?
It was 2009, the 4664 concert at Radio City Music Hall in New York. Among the performers were Josh Groban, Sipho Hotstix Mabuse, Vusi Maklasela. And then topping the bill was the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin. And you're standing backstage, and I was having a chat to Josh Groban, and he comes to me and he says, "I've just got to leave now for a quick sound check with Aretha." and you sort of look and you smile and he smiles and off he goes. And they did You Raise Me Up. But she's absolutely iconic.
Reports say the star has been battling with health issues for some years now. Currently, she's being cared for at her home in Detroit. Local musicians are sending best wishes to Franklin, including singer-songwriter Vicky Sampson, who's been inspired by Franklin's music throughout her career.
The first song that I really tackled by Aretha Franklin was in 1985 with a band in Mabata called Shine. Our band was called Shine. And the song was called Jimmy Lee. Jimmy Lee, this one's for me, and I'll always remember. That was the first voyages into the magic of Aretha Franklin's voice, and I'm just happy that she is surrounded by her loved ones, and I wish them also strength during this time, and I pray that Miss Aretha still pulls through.
Former SA Idols winner Karen Korki reminisces about her days on the music competition when she was dubbed a young Aretha by one of the judges.
Like a natural woman. During the audition rounds, Randall, he used to tell people that I remind him of Miss Aretha Franklin, and for me that's a very big honor. Funny enough, people remember that comment that he made because I did one of his songs also on Idols.
And while Franklin is surrounded by her nearest and dearest, Sampson most aptly uses an old classic to send well wishes from South Africa.
I say a little prayer for you.